YouTube comments from a video titled, How a 1/8-acre garden feeds a family of 6 all year. Part 5.
At a Loethexted wrote,
Your husband is sensitive to the sugar in the store-bought tomato sauces. Do not believe the medical claim of acids and hot peppers causing heartburn. I cut out all starches and sugars in my diet because they give me reflux and heartburn. Hot food never affects me.
At Larry Schuyler 3394 wrote,
If you had a freeze dryer, you could take all those extra peppers, dry them, then pulverize into pepper powder, unless they get crispy enough on the drying racks. Makes it easier to measure out your pepper for recipes.
At Fitzhuff 4905 wrote,
I appreciate you speaking to your efforts to minimize the overwhelm that seems to universally impact mamas. Also, I love hearing about your gardening insights. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and insights.
At Dave Builds Things wrote,
Loved the bean extracting method with a pillowcase. We love to use fresh garlic in our meals. To peel garlic, we use 2 small metal bowls from the dollar store. Place the cloves inside of them. Cover the 2 bowls together top to top and shake it. The garlic husks come off in no time without harming or damaging the clove. Beats trying to peel them. It really does work and is simple as it sounds.
At Robin Clark 5274 wrote,
Your native Indians grew corn, beans, and squash in squares. Firstly, to aid pollination, beans climb the corn, then the squash crawl along the ground. It's called the Three Sisters method. I Googled it to grown this style in Australia. The old-timers would have known this. I love your vegetable garden and your fabulous work ethic. I love tomato pesto as well as basil. Your basil looks so healthy. Do you make your own pesto? I make depression pickles with radishes and other vegetables. Yum yum. Found on YouTube.
At Gideon Porter 537 wrote,
That was a surprisingly great video. Not because what they are doing is a surprise, it's bloody awesome. But I've watched dozens, maybe many dozens, of similar videos. But I was so surprised to have so much vital information shared in just half an hour or so. I've watched 1 hour plus videos that shared less than half the great stuff in this vid. Fabulousness law.
At Nansiritland 9116 wrote,
Tip from an old lady, this has worked perfectly for my many years. Do you have any old cotton sheets or cotton dish towels? Rip up the sheets and then wrap carrots, cabbage, lettuce, celery, etc. in the cotton cloth before you put the produce in the plastic bag, and your produce will last even longer.
At Phoenix Rising 5338 wrote,
I do wonder how you kept deer, rodents, small animals, bears, and birds from eating it all. Where I live, just the deer would have stripped the entire garden in one night. The fencing I see is way too short to keep deer out. It's the fencing that's astronomically expensive, even if you build it yourself. On top of that, we have terrible soil. So it's taken a long time to get the soil to grow things. That means amendments, adding organic material, fertilizer in some form, again time and expense. I managed to get a lot of free large garden pots. I'm buying topsoil, filling the pots, and growing in those. But I'm one person, and that's slow, hard, tedious labor. I'm also getting older, which makes it slower, harder, and more tedious than it used to be. Everything I grow in those is doing fabulously. I have to fence everything, and then cage everything individually because the deer find ways around the fencing where I cannot fence. So do birds and rodents. My in-ground garden plot is struggling. It was previously gardened by someone else, but apparently not well, as it was overgrown and neglected when I moved in. I've repaired fence, removed grass and weeds, rototilled, amended, fertilized, watered, weeded some more, tested starting seeds indoors in grower versus sowing directly outside just before or just after last frost date, depending on seed type, etc., with mixed results. An entire long row of peas vanished overnight when either wild turkeys, pheasants, or a rodent stripped them out of the garden, roots, vines, pea pods, and all. I've now bought a totally enclosed mesh chicken coop to grow in. It's not up yet. We'll see if that works. I live in a northern, very short growing season area. The soil is poor, sandy, leaning toward alkaline, very little organic material, low in nutrients, low in rainfall, takes a very long time to warm in the spring. On top of that, the microclimate right where I am runs about 5 degrees colder than everywhere right around us for some reason. I've lived in just about every growing area of the country. I thrift seeds. Our library has a free seed exchange. I save and collect seeds. I trade for things. I use repurposed and recycled materials and make fertilizer from food scraps, etc. But there's still a lot of expense in building infrastructure, maintaining equipment, buying mulch and amendments if you cannot make enough fast enough, buying soil, buying materials to make raised beds and cold frames if you can get them free, replacing plants you cannot grow from seed, etc. If your soil is poor, it takes a long time to build good soil unless you can afford a lot of expensive amendments/mulch very quickly. We have an overabundance of wildlife that considers every garden a smorgasbord. I think living off what you grow here would be incredibly challenging and more than a full-time job, and I've been a dedicated, successful gardener for 50 years now. It's just not as cheap as everyone tells you.
Etalandros wrote,
What on earth kind of soil is in those raised beds? We have never had that kind of success with raised beds. Is that leaf mulch on top? This is the sort of information I need.
At Serpent 035 wrote,
First time watching this, I live in the city and don't do much with planting and food stuff. But this seems fun and looks like it's very satisfying. Almost makes me want to move.
Edelphilipad wrote,
Whenever I'm internet surfing, can I see Annie? It's like, wow, I got to see what she's doing now. Annie is always learning something new. I'm very excited to do so. If Annie knew was put in a book, it would be more like encyclopedias.
At Jess Heppel 750 wrote,
As someone who lives in the subtropics, hearing you say sweet potatoes are fussy is wild to me. They grow out of the compost and take over the garden, need nothing, and can even do well in straight mulch with no soil. They are like a weed. Just shows you how much success is about choosing plants that are suited to your climate.
At Gwendy 1171 wrote,
In fact, I think the two of you could teach kids in different schools about how to be self-sufficient. Just an idea. You will ask who is going to do all the work in the garden, but how many people out there would join that movement? Food for thought.
At Anatoly 8212 wrote,
This is a tons of work behind all words. Great setup, very smart. Same way my parents did for whole life. I have a small plot on my backyard, and it is enough for me not buy tomatoes or cucumbers almost whole year and greens we're raising outside all year round too. Big thanks for sharing from Raleigh, NC.
At Danson Ranch wrote,
Great interview, folks. Glad you were able to highlight. They do some good work. I hope you got a tour of the new office. Cody did a great job. If you put an inline low-volume fan on the intake, it can also help to cool the cold room. But it is also dependent on air temp, unless you want to get really fancy.
Kmama 75 wrote,
Oh my goodness. More OF this. You are both amazing women, and it was such a joy to watch you together. All the tips and fantastic education for real life. Your chemistry on screen together was on point. Definitely do a collab again.
At Badgerchilsky 535 wrote,
I'm curious to know if they eat their sweet potato greens. I grew them for the first time this year and also tried cooking the greens for the first time. They turned out delicious. Kinda like a cross between spinach and mustard greens.
At Old Latta Farmer 7211 wrote.
Hint: don't throw your radishes out. Boil them and serve like turnips or parsnips with butter, salt and pepper. They are mild and do not taste like radishes when you boil them.
At Jersey Metal Mike 5111 wrote.
Michelle is a genius. She shared so many tips in this 30-minute video that I haven't seen in hours and hours of other YouTube vids. I was blown away at how smart she and her family live. And of course, has a great channel. Very inspiring.
At Jonathan Drayton 7311 wrote.
I'm curious. Other than the health benefits, what are the costs? My annual grocery budget is $8,580. Would I come out cheaper if I grew my own veggies and fruits and bought meat in bulk?
Kfauk 444 wrote.
Yes, but what about rotation? Tigi land will be out of vitamin in no time. How do you keep the ground from depleting? In the old days, farmer would starve because their land would stop giving. How do you rest certain part of the garden?
At _Gallowglass wrote.
1/8 acre for a family of 6. Not too shabby. I'd be hunting and fishing as well and raising some birds for eggs and a goat or sheep for milk.
At Deborah Donnelly 8423 wrote.
I just learned TOCA in less than a year ago. I see an FORM Y94YO father SOHEHS ready food AND doesn't need TOGOOUT. HECA and barely walk.
Jenny Co GI 4PY wrote.
Everything is growing so well and healthy. Must have really good soil. Can you tell us what you do or add to your soil? Over time, it will deplete.
Pabaston wrote.
I initially came across one of your videos because I wanted to make bamboo cages for our tomatoes, and I'm glad I did because it was spot on. But little did I know that I'd be watching so much more of your content. Not because I'm about to start farming, but because you are a wealth of information even for the small amount of growing that I do. Also, as a video editor for over 30 plus years, I'm really impressed with the amount of content you produce and the quality of the content that is only possible with your camera presence and talented ability to convey the knowledge. Kudos on all of it, and wishing you all the best.
At George Fox N5Y wrote.
I'm growing my first patch of asparagus ever. Mine are in 3 raised beds. Do these asparagus bugs make cutting my stalks off at the ground necessary yearly?
At Elwood 212 wrote.
Another cheap form of lining a cold room is to make hemp blocks using wood shavings instead of hemp hurd. A small fan is enough to keep the air cold.
A Complicated Simplicite wrote.
I didn't realize you were a fellow Tennessean. I'm from East Tennessee and started my gardening journey 3 years ago. I love more than farmers. Their videos helped me so much.
Peaceful Garden Dung wrote.
I really like how this video keeps everything simple and natural. Watching it reminds me of how I often record my garden, just letting the camera run while I quietly observe what's happening. Sometimes the smallest movements, like leaves shifting or sunlight changing, end up being the most interesting parts.
At Linder 2173 wrote.
And you have such a beautiful smile and a witty personality. Love that you can share the truth of things good and bad. Life is all what you make of it.
At Weedy Garden wrote.
Lots of people do not like radishes, especially children. If you cut off the taproot, slice them, and cook them in a little butter, the spiciness goes away and they are delicious. French eat them for breakfast this way.
At Alf8654 wrote,
I watch More Than Farmers every week. Assume Family and The Accomplished Much. I have been watching for several years. Cody still had an outside job. It was good to see that he was able to be home full time. I have never heard of your YouTube. I may start watching some.
At Wafrog wrote,
Just found this channel. This is really well produced and informative. Love the sidebars that pop up for us urbanites who have no idea, but dream of someday getting some land. The whole video makes the process seem a lot less daunting, a testament to your clear information. Thanks.
Crarison wrote,
They are amazing. Great video. I am forever amazed that they have so many tomatoes in such huge, healthy plants with only 15 to auto plants. In most are Amish paste, which most of us have trouble growing.
At Chris Robinson 1062 wrote,
Seeing her barefoot in Ohio soil makes me so happy. I grew up in NW, Ohio, grew vegetables, raised livestock. Moved to Seattle about 12 years ago. Happy to announce I too can go back to being barefoot in Ohio soil. Love it.
At Grover Martin 6874 wrote,
Asparagus roots are bought in either small or fat kinds. Some people think the skinny ones are more tender. Some think the fat ones are juicier. Plant whichever kind you like.
At De Ruyter Mortetfler wrote,
I'm the opposite. Trickled to have some fresh all year and not worried about storage. I just use a traditional pantry for that. I do freeze some, but not to last more than a month or two. She has the manpower to go to scale.
Casters_fog wrote,
Her tips about gardening and homeschooling is so what I needed. I also get super overwhelmed, and it's so nice to hear that there is a way to incorporate balance.
Kate McSave wrote,
I've wanted to do a cold frame out of old windows from years, but felt intimidated by building the base. Not anymore. Love that I can just try a tiny one to start.
At G's4980 wrote,
I'm a generation older and this just warms my heart. I live on a little over an acre, and from back to front I have a wooded 1/8, chickens and room for ruminants, a septic field for grazing, raised bed garden on an 1/8 with medicinals, a shed, and a greenhouse, eventually a space for rabbits and quail pheasant, the house and shop, and about a 1/4 acre fruit orchard with berries and room for long-term plots between rows of trees next year. And I have seen it done on a 1/3 acre with animals around the perimeter and a garden in the center of a backyard. No cows, no fields of wheat, but food surrounds us. Turning a shed into a cold room is a goal for us as well. This can be done.
At Antiques from Karen Janet wrote,
Regarding radishes, we prioritize radishes. Picture them as small potatoes. They are amazing in stews and soups. You can also do them in the air fryer with oil and garlic, or roasted in the oven or on a cookie sheet. We don't like them raw or on salads, but cooked is a game changer. They turn sweet and are naturally seasoned.
At Frederick Clark 1186 wrote,
Yellow tomatoes and purple tomatoes don't have as much acidic acid in it, because I can't eat regular tomatoes either. It makes me have heartburn and an upset stomach.
At Trixie 1823 wrote,
I can't believe how this one video put so many aspects of gardening in one spot, answering so many questions and solving so many challenges. Thank you so much. Did I use so too much? Well, we reap what we sow.
A Code Runner G2Z wrote.
I'm not a fan of raw radishes, but throw them in a frying pan with a bit of oil and they lose the bite and taste kinda like Brussels sprouts.
And Minty Farts wrote.
Broccoli leaves and cabbage, cauliflower, etc. can be picked for coups and salads. It's just more food for free. Blanch and freeze them if you want them later. I will often leave my last cabbages zone 7B so I can pick the leaves and little heads they try to make after the main one is harvested. I like the baby leaves. They are so old, tender, and sweet.
At Corinna Baldoff 2568 wrote.
I've been watching homestead vids on YT for years, and there's so many gems I heard for the first time edgy. The corn square curing. Thank you both.
And Madso _wrote.
I've been getting heartburn since I was 14, and one major help has been not eating nightshade vegetables, pepper, tomato, potato, eggplant. Sweet potato was fine. It's a game changer if you don't want to take medication.
K-Byte wrote.
I wish this was possible. In 1/8 an acre in the UK where I live, sadly, however, is hard to find in any reasonable house budget with an actually reasonable house. My garden is 1/50th of an acre, and I'm not likely to get anything bigger until I can get a fully remote job away from the city entirely. 1/8 is the dream. That would give me chickens and a beehive potentially plus space to grow food, and a seating area for a barbecue and flowers/acer trees/plants, etc., and a greenhouse.
Paula Smith D9X wrote.
I don't have an area to cure all my sweet potatoes this year. First time growing. Been watching every YouTube video on in and still can't figure it out. Help.
Paula Smith D9X wrote.
I didn't plant beans this year for that simple reason of not wanting to sit on the porch for hours and hours taking them out of their shells.
At Rebrindle 1 wrote.
I grew up in Michigan and Illinois and spent my summers barefoot. Then as a teenager, I moved south and quickly learned that there are many things here like fire ants and hammerhead worms that can really cause misery on bare feet. I didn't realize how acclimated I've become until I saw Michelle in her bare feet. My first thought was, oh no, she's going to get hurt. Then I remembered.
At Nathaniel Muller 4400 wrote.
The biggest question I have is the cost of amendments for the soil and disease prevention. What does she do if there's a viral or bacterial infection? I'm not being critical, just curious.
At Be Apprentice 2725 wrote.
I am new to TBE channel, but I assume you are in a DTY area. We have a huge problem with weeds since it rains and then shines here all the time. I miss Utah gardening.
At Chet Bodley 8629 wrote.
Much easier and nutritious to just eat beef. It was good to see some meat in those freezers. Plants are trying to kill you, and our soil has been so depleted of nutrients, those plants will leave you malnourished.
At Joe Lakener 3025 wrote.
An acre is 208 FT by 208 FT, so you're saying 26 FT by 26 FT feeds a family of 6 for a year. I didn't think so.
Akela Capuchino 101 wrote.
As someone who grew up in the country, but only on 1 acre of land, and we never grew anything, all of this seems extremely overwhelming. I guess it wouldn't be so bad if you grew up with the knowledge of how to do things, plus the money to make it happen. But man, watching videos like these is both comforting and stressful lol. Still fun to watch, though.
At Hilltop Homestead 1328 wrote.
May we please have the stats on the pantry and cold room? Temperature and humidity.
And do you have to use a dehumidifier? Thank you, this is amazing.
At Gladys Grace 001 wrote,
She's a superwoman. I'm just blown away by her strength, courage, and tenacity. I know she has her beautiful family that provides her with the support she needs. But she's absolutely phenomenal. It takes a certain level of mindset to be able to attain this sustainable lifestyle. And she makes it look so easy. I'm especially grateful for all the knowledge and tips provided throughout this video. I hope one day on a small scale to have a homestead for myself and my daughter to enjoy for years to come.
At Andrew Thosen wrote,
If you learn to live like this, you'll spend your entire day farming instead of doing something important, like making widgets for some corporation, so their shareholders can compete to be in the top 10 richest people in the world or whatever.
At Jarrett Frederickson 4627 wrote,
This is really great. I've done this. And after doing it, I am amazed at what food sells for in the stores. Even at farmers' markets now. There's a considerable amount of work involved. You just make it your hobby.
At H00BA100 wrote,
I learned that the First Nations in America grew their corn in circles, so I use a 5-gal bucket, make indents in the soil in a row, and each circle gets 6 seeds. This holds them up in the wind, and I just got a good harvest. Who really likes radishes? My grandchildren go nuts over them. A radish sandwich on homemade sourdough bread with mayos. Delish.
At Jennifer Marco 8391 wrote,
That would be amazing to live like that. Not only is she saving hundreds every month, but she's feeding her family healthier food than if she bought it. From a grocery store that mostly sells industrial farmed food from dead soil, drenched in chemicals and synthetic fertilizers.
At Lesade Kramer wrote,
I am so proud of you younger folks for growing all your own food. I wish I had built more storage when I developed my little property, but at 72, I deal with what I have. I will have to watch this other channel. Ring it.
At the Nico 8292 wrote,
All this for about 8 days worth of cumulative time a year. People don't realize that when you own a farmstead, most of the time you are simply waiting on your crops. You do some work when planting and at harvest time. Then you do a little bit of work 2-3 weeks later just to maintain your yield. Then you do 1 to 2H work every week to maintain your crop. Another 1 to 2H to maintain your fields. You only ever put in a lot of hours when something weird comes up. Like, oh, hey, I got a lot of slugs this season, so you spend more time researching, planning, and maintenance, etc.
At Jendal 5006 wrote,
1621 man. I've been wanting one of these for so long. My mom uses an O2 machine. I have to sleep with a CPAP. I'm always afraid of a power outage. We had a storm one night, and I woke up feeling like I was suffocating because the power had gone out and my CPAP machine cut off. So I was laying there with a sealed mask over my face that was no longer supplying air. It was so scary. I'm a stay-at-home mom, had to quit my medical career because of my health. My husband's income is barely enough to keep us afloat, but I was able to work a part-time job for a while just to save up for a Jackery, but our car broke down and all of my savings went to that. I was so devastated. I really enjoy prepping for emergencies, so I have peace of mind for my family, and I love technology. I'm always outside working in the garden or the yard or building something, and I love my portable fan that I can charge my phone with and my solar lights. I was so looking forward to being able to use a Jackery for power tools when I'm cutting or sanding wood or just for anything. Having one in case of a power outage to power the house for my mom's oxygen machine, the A/C freezer, etc. is such a blessing, and I hope everyone who wants one is able to afford it.
At Seth 4385 wrote,
Yes, it's definitely the citric acid giving your husband heartburn. Citric acid is most commonly an industrially produced GMO byproduct metabolite created by feeding GMO corn glucose to a GMO fungus Aspergillus niger, which excretes citric acid. Definitely stay away from anything with citric acid ingredients unless specifically says organic citric acid. Even USDA organic products have this ingredient when lists citric acid ingredient because for a product to be USDA organic in the USA, just 95% of ingredients must be USDA organic, not 100%.
Agendal 5006 wrote,
My mom grew up picking cotton and working in the garden every day with her grandparents. It's crazy hearing how they didn't use any pesticides or fertilizer and didn't even add any amendments to the hard red clay dirt we have in our area. Yet everything grew great.
Agendal 5006 wrote,
I would love to see neighborhood gardens. Imagine all the different varieties of vegetables people would discover and be able to enjoy by sharing their harvest and slash or seeds with their community and sharing recipes with each other. The main reason most people don't cook or eat vegetables is because they just don't know many ways to make them delicious. There are tons of forgotten recipes that are delicious. Man, now I want to ask my grandparents and the older generation what their favorite garden recipes are.
Amonacac 1904 wrote,
Oh my goodness, your property is what I'd like for my property. I too live in Ohio Zone 6B with a small family of 3. I have a small garden, but it didn't do the best this year. I'm already thinking of how to make next year better.
Adzizicles wrote,
You can cook radishes in soups and saute them. They taste pretty neutral. That hot flavor goes away, but they have a brassica kind of taste. Great for keto sub for potatoes.
Abyss 3104 wrote,
Dried bean shelling method I learned from my grandparents. Do this on a day with breeze light wind. 1. Put out a bed sheet and all the beans on it too. Whack the beans so that the shells break up 3. Hold the 4 corners of the sheet and lift it up fast. This way you throw the beans and the shell pieces up in the air. The light wind will blow the shell pieces off. Since the beans are heavier, they will drop back onto the sheet 4. Repeat step 3 until the beans are cleaned.
Adalib 9742 wrote,
I am a first-time viewer. I thoroughly enjoyed this entire video. I learned so much and want to implement your many tips. Thank you. My question is about the beef tallow. Do you have a video on making your own tallow? What is it used for? And how is soap related to tallow? For some reason, that sounds gross, but I don't understand the application of tallow. How does it clean dishes?
At Sierra Mosier 9092 wrote,
Yes, and seriously fabulous. Doesn't seem to take into account all the space needed to store all the food. The acreage isn't my problem. The space to store it all is. Seriously, though, this is fabulous.
At Eliza Jane 2757 wrote,
I grow organically. 0 sprays. One year, I accidentally noticed some purple basil coming up with my bok choy Chinese cabbage. I believe the wind blew my seeds that day. Anyway, it was a bad year for invasive bugs. The bok choy at the far end of the row were almost destroyed by pests. The bok choy plants with purple basil growing beside them were not even touched by pests. I now companion plant.
Kmegard wrote,
So helpful. Thank you. Also,
I am in Scandinavia, and as for power, maybe we do things differently. We have solar panes and two big batteries. We can sell electricity to the grid, but also go off grid. We are investing in electric cars, which will run off our own electricity. Gas is very expensive here almost, €2 a liter. And the car batteries are an extra energy source slash battery if the grid is down.
Christy 419 wrote,
Fantastic you did a cross Peaver episode. I love the content for both of you. You didn't get to see their tea garden in sunken buckets, which is a great idea.
At Kristen Arazzo's 710 wrote,
The way Michelle explains everything from planting, harvesting, and preserving is amazing. More Than Farmers is the educational channel that should be taught in schools. Much love to you all.
At NDBG 46881 wrote,
I didn't catch where she bought the square cages from on the basil. I use Texas tomato cages for my tomatoes, love them, 15 years and counting. And I'm looking for something smaller and sturdy for big pepper plants and basil.
AK P 1139 wrote,
Hey, sunshine. I am so happy you put this video out today. I spent the last 2 days running from one raised bed to another. Green beans, wax beans, and black-eyed peas. ALL needed picked yesterday. Then the UGG. Where? What? How? As I was shelling peas, I was thinking it would be so much better to just grow one of two crops and focus on those, then move on to another. We can grow nearly year-round, so yeah, I am going to do that. The overwhelm just melted away. Now to fill the greenhouse with cabbage. I learned you can freeze dry sauerkraut, so woohoo. 25 days of fermenting, 2 days of freeze drying, and that will last for a couple of years. NOW, can someone tell me how I can preserve snow peas? Can't freeze them, or can them? We only get a short 2-month window to grow them here in FL. Anyone? Have not tried the freeze dryer.
At Hermit on Wheels wrote,
I've started my garden, and I try not be discouraged, but I will never be functional enough to get this good. You two are very inspiring, but sometimes I feel discouraged. My cucumber plants gave me 1 cucumber each this year. I've harvested 6 beans off my 5 bean plants. The only success I've had with spinach starters I bought from a nursery. I guess what I'm saying is, even if you can't feed a family of 6 all year on little land, it's still worth trying. I am having fun watching the little plants grow big. My sprouts just got demolished by some bugs, so I replanted, and I get out of bed every day to see what happened overnight. We won't all be as successful as these ladies, but even half or quarter as good is still better than nothing. I uploaded a couple vids in the hopes some folks might help me out with what I'm doing wrong.
At Nathan Tonning wrote,
This comment is an attempt to boost the viewership of my favorite content creators. The following comment has been generated using the transcript fed into ChatGPT. I love human interaction and would love to be able to keep machines out of the equation. But the engineers and execs don't seem to think so. So I apologize for doing this. I would love to make all my comments after watching all of your video. But think of this as a redundancy to help you make more videos and reach the audience you need to have. Only machines should battle machines. This tour is a masterclass in realistic self-reliance. Proof that a family of 6 can grow a year's worth of food on roughly 1/8 of an acre by focusing on yields, storage, and simplicity over gadgetry. The numbers jump out first: 120 pounds of carrots from a narrow strip, 200 pounds of potatoes from a modest patch, then the system behind them. Cure crops well: potatoes, onions, squash, and keep them at proper temp/humidity so they don't rot. The cold room, 2 insulated interior walls plus 2 earth contact walls with good ventilation, does the work of a root cellar without an excavator. Crucially, onions and potatoes live in separate spaces. Curing happens in single layers before binning. Crop choices are practical and protein aware. Lots of root veg, no canning required, plus dried beans that store in buckets for years. The pillowcase whack for shelling is peak kid-friendly efficiency. Sweet potatoes move to raised beds to beat fungus by improving drainage. Corn is planted in a square for wind stability and better pollination. Dent varieties for cornmeal/tortillas are timed to avoid cross-pollination with sweet corn and to dodge neighboring GMO pollen as best as possible. Tomatoes are managed, not multiplied. 15 plants, meticulously pruned, mulched ground, and a weekly organic fungicide with a dash of soap and liquid seaweed to fend off Ohio blight. Enough for all sauces, ketchup, salsa, and juice. Butternut squash cures 2 weeks on the porch, then stores like a champ. Cold frames are delightfully low-tech. Cinder blocks plus recycled windows near the house for reflected warmth, extending greens into December. Herbs, basil especially, dry on salvaged window screens, no dehydrator needed, while square folding cages, Berlin seed, keep peppers and more upright and store flat. Lazy gardening here means batching, not neglect. 1 big planting, 2 huge preserving days, then done. Green beans only every other year. Broccoli for quick harvest to freezer wins. Life design matches the seasons. Homeschooling pauses during peak garden months to avoid split focus. Downstairs is the personal grocery store. Bulk dry goods in food-grade buckets. 3 chest freezers: beef, chicken, berries/veg, and a carrot fridge where unwashed, bagged carrots keep 10 months with a bit of humidity. Tallow soap, pesto from basil bushes, and a calm refusal to chase perfection tie it together. Small space, clear rhythms, big results. Machinum Machinum edit.
Estois drainage. 1410 wrote.
The size of your broccoli was rather impressive. Perhaps you have a different variety/varieties than we do have in the UK. Yours almost seemed multi-headed. Ours just one smaller head than when cut some smaller shoots. Very jealous of you. Do you have a variety name?
At Janice Maddox 6964 wrote.
It was both fun and inspiring. And another friend's house to visit and learn from. Being able to watch others appreciate fully the gifts provided by a home on this planet keeps me powered like a generator to keep going through life's storms. And tilling to plant rather than to be just tilled under at this point. My walking crawl space is taking on renewed interest. Thank you all for sharing.
At Robert Mullen 7586 wrote.
Hello, I heard you say that you don't want to use grass clippings for mulch because of seeds. If you soak your clippings in water, sugar and yeast for a week, the seeds will die, and you can use the water as fertilizer. Mix 20% mulch water and 80% rainwater and use the clippings as mulch.
At Bleo 8371 wrote.
They will not show you these people in media. Because they have no profit for them. But they are important because they know how to do it. Important for you. Don't let media scare you and force you be down. Look this way of living and just leave the system. Because celebrity will not help you, this kind of people will. You can see how they share and help each other. Meanwhile, system is killing you.
As Shina Little People wrote.
This was great to see you both together and learned a lot today as usual, and thank you for the potato onion tip because now I know what was happening in my pantry. Had them in basket shelves near each other and bam, rotting in no time. Tomatoes also ripen other veggies very quickly, so I make sure they are always far away, unless I want a banana or an avocado to ripen quickly.
At DJ8431 wrote,
Amazing collab. I always watch both channels' videos. However, I'm wondering about this homeschooling system. When kids don't get homeschooled from May-October, do they go to a normal school in that time or just don't? Seems like to me it's an inefficient education system for kids to actually learn enough.
At Blank Slate 6393 wrote,
What a treat. Two of my favorite channels meet up. This family are true exemplary homesteaders. Also like your cool footnotes, which clarifies the context and ambiguous concepts. Overall, super instructive video. Thanks, Anne.
The taking_back_time wrote,
I'm seriously jealous of her basement. We have dirt floors and low ceilings with just enough room to walk or duck our heads. It's very primitive due to living in a 105-year-old log home.
At Bobmuinch 365 wrote,
Thank you both, all three Cody too, for sharing this way. I've followed both of you for a few years, learning as I go. I just love what you're sharing. It gives me information without having to experiment with it myself.
At Jvin 248 wrote,
Looks great. I like they are growing storage flower corn. Do an episode on nixtamalization or hominy process and share with your interviewee, as it boosts niacin and other vitamins and was how Central American populations survived on corn. You can use hardwood ash, CAL, pickling lime, or baking soda. Just need the pH boost.
At Jachirakis wrote,
OMG. Love, love, love seeing Out and MTF create together. You both inspire in the same, yet different ways, and wow, I'm so happy to see you together.
At Margaret Fennell wrote,
Feed the soil and it will feed you. Such an enjoyable tour and love the combination of two great creators. Onions/potatoes/apples do not play well together. Different spots in the basement. Now if I just had more energy to do all the things I want to do.
At the Snuffy 1994 wrote,
I love that both of you are keeping things real. The stress of being perfect does more damage than just having one bad meal when things get busy.
At RAR, Reads 2025 wrote,
We are growing our own food, but we have far less land than that. I mean, our entire plot is 22 acres, but that includes the house, the shed, greenhouse, and garden shed. But we have chooks, an orchard with 35 trees, a garden, and heaps of berry bushes. I wish we could grow corn, but just simply not enough space to grow more than a few stalks. But maybe I should give it a go and find somewhere to plant them.
At Mitchell Outfitters wrote,
Great to see two of our favorite channels together. We are in North Central Florida and are just starting our homestead. If you are bored and want to throw us some tips, we would love your advice. Thanks for all you do. Love your channel. The next chapter, first 7 months on our homestead U2.B.
At Calendula Officinalis 7303 wrote,
Sorry for going off topic, but I am not from America, and I was wondering about it for a while. Why so many Americans choose to homeschool their kids?
Arrobasash, Sinclair wrote,
A 2-for-1 with fave creators. Great vid. It's a good tutorial on how to do just about everything. So cool yows two could get together and hang. Also, where's that butternut squash cake recipe that was mentioned? Sounds really good.
At Hippocrates' garden wrote,
The other thing about dried beans, and I do the same for cowpeas, black-eyed peas, purple hull peas, etc. I always pick dried. Dried beans are food, of course. And seed. And you can shell at your convenience. If you pick green, then they have to be picked at a certain time, shelled quickly and eaten or preserved, and cannot be used as seed. Save the stress. Pick dry, shell when you can, eat as much as you want, but save some for seed.
Chiocciolaici, 5994 wrote,
I totally respect making things easy in the garden so you avoid burnout. That's awesome. In that vein, my family actually stores our carrots in the ground through the winter. Just heap about 1 foot to 2 feet of leaves on your row once the carrot tops have winter killed to insulate the ground, and it won't freeze, and the carrots will be the best you've ever eaten, because all the starches turn to sugar. We'll take enough to fill a 5-gallon bucket when there's a sunny day, and make sure the rest are covered, and we usually have fresh carrots through early April.